are cycling from Frome to Gillingham today. It's not very far, but we're on a deliberate path, sort of mediated by accommodation, to do the North Dorset Trailway. So that's a little highlight in this part of England. We'll take you with us and show you what we see on the way.
Here's the mighty bikes. Frome was a beautiful stop. I really liked it. If you ever go there, go to the cinema. It's a wonderful community cinema. £4 tickets. You know, cycling in England, you're just spoiled because you've got these quiet lanes, hedgerows. You know, it's just lovely. I've cycled in other countries. I'm cycling in Japan right now as I write this, and we were so spoiled. You know, it's hard to, when you're there, you think, oh well, you know, this is just the way it is. But this is just so lovely. Not car free, but almost car free. Just quiet, good surfaces, lovely. Not that I would complain about it, but the hedgerows make it hard to see the surrounding countryside. And also when you're on the single row hedgerows, you have to look on for oncoming cars just to make sure they can get past. This was an unplanned stop, and this is one of the National Trust's properties called Stourhead, named after the river that goes through it. And you know, it was great. The Kraken, it was hard to get her out of the cafe because they had vegan muffins there, but we paid to go in and we were there for the majority of the day. So these are the sort of walled gardens as you go in, and they were lovely. They were a mixture of decorative plants and also kitchen plants, you know. This was the stables and the gardener's sort of area as well, and you could sort of wander through all the outbuildings. There's also areas for the children to play.
They've got lots of activities for kids, including this adorable tractor circuit. So they're pedal powered. Oh, they're so cute. And then this is a little push one, so the lidless ones don't miss out. Here's the stables. Golly. Coming. Coming. Charlie's found a hobby horse. What else is in here?
Hobby horses.
Hobby horses. Oh my goodness, look. That's so cute. They've got little... I'm going to film this for Karen. Oh.
This was the main house. So the middle of this was the original house, and then the two wings were put on later. One of the wings was a library and one was a gallery. And yeah, you could wander through. It was part of it. It had a beautiful vista out the front. And it's sort of a one-way. You could only go on the bottom floor and you couldn't go to the kitchens or anything. Mainly just the receiving rooms. Because as they explained to us, these houses were sort of like, you know, people would come and visit all the time and then you would show off all your stuff. So these were the sort of grand rooms that the family would entertain people in. And, you know, the servants would be living in the ceiling, and then the kitchens and stuff like that were not things that were really opened to the public. So this was the library, this was the add-on edition, and, you know, you can imagine sitting in here reading all the books. It was lovely.
this house was donated to the National Trust in 1947, but upstairs there's still apartments that the family occupy. So the last whore, the main trunk of the family, it ended in 1947 when the lady died. Her son was killed in World War One, so she left no heirs. But obviously they're still family, and they have apartments upstairs.
This looks very la-di-da, but some of this is pulp. These are gentlemen's magazines.
This was the gallery, this was the other add-on section. And this was like one of the things that the house was known for. It's just a box with all different stones and made out of, but everybody come and look at it. So the gallery had lots of paintings on it, and obviously people came and looked at the paintings. They were really starved for entertainment back then. No telly, no movies. The gardens were beautiful. And around the house itself, there was a lot of these open grassed areas. This is the back of the house, and if you looked to the back, there's that big obelisk as well. We went on a free tour, which was run by a volunteer who took us all around the gardens.
It's a 600-year-old chestnut tree.
And when I say all around the gardens, he took us around the main part of the gardens, because really these are very extensive gardens. Like if you walk to the end, they were like 5 miles long, and there was follies that were 5 miles walk away. So they were still part of the garden.
That's the ice house.
This was known for the ice house, so they'd store ice there, and this is one of the largest ice houses in England.
800-year-old yew tree.
They had these view lines that were opened up, so you get these beautiful classical views, and they had to be maintained as they were part of the heritage. More beautiful hedgerows, more quiet lanes.
Well, what about yesterday? First of all, we were only planning on riding 25 kilometres yesterday. We ended up around 29. And we never assumed that we were going to go directly to the accommodation, and we ended up going to this historic home called...
I can't remember. It's here. There's the name.
which was a National Trust property. Now, National Trust properties are scattered everywhere, and next time we come back, we're going to plan our trip better. And we're going to stay mainly at these Wetherspoon pubs, and make the trip about going to Wetherspoons, staying at Wetherspoons, and also go to National Trust properties. But if you're just going for one-off, the tickets are quite expensive, but you can get a pass that gets you into all of the National Trust properties, and it's a lot better. But we spent the entire day wandering around this. PJ got fagged out, and so she had to have a little sit down. But you could spend days there if you really wanted to.
Vegan scone.
Vegan scones and everything. So we left around 10. We got to accommodation around 6. It was a full day. We rode 29 kilometres, and I think it was excellent. And today we've got a little bit further to ride planned, but we already have 3 attractions booked in to go to. So one's a working mill. So it's an old water mill, and it's still going today. One's a museum, which also owns and operates the mill, but they're separate locations. And another's a medieval manor house that just is near the path and looks really good, and is operated by Heritage Britain, which is another place that sort of works with the National Trust. But their properties are free to go into, Heritage Britain. Okay, so that's it.
Hello. You slowly.
Oh, you're all right.
Very idyllic. This was in a building, the community building, and it was the model railway enthusiasts. So this town used to be a marshalling yard for the railway, and obviously the railway had gone away, and this is where the rail trail was going to start. And they had this display on of what it used to look like. And the community centre was really good. There was art for sale on the walls. There was a theatre. And you can see this beautiful wrought iron balustrade. And there's quite a lot of the old railway paraphernalia also in there. It was a very good community centre, right next to the little shopping centre and everything. We thought this town was going to be horrible, but it was really lovely, actually. And there was a lot of the old buildings that had been repurposed into knick-knack shops and second-hand stores and things like that. That was great to wander through. Because we spent so much time at the model railway and the community centre, we managed to get to the museum just as it closed. But we went into a lot of the old built shops, so it was great. Look at this mill pond. It was so lovely. Now, this mill was like over 1,000 years old. It was in the Domesday Book. You pay £5 to go through, and a guide takes you through for as long as you like. So one side of it is a grain mill, and the other side is a stamping mill. And it doesn't have a water wheel. What it has is a turbine inside, and it's the original turbine, so it's never been changed. And it drives a vertical shaft that goes up, and there's like a dog clutch where you can drive both sides of the mill all together, or you could just have one side of the mill going. And they still grind flour here, and it's very interesting. It's all run by leather belts. This is one of the old leather belts that you can see. And I found it awful interesting. You know, they had hoppers and they had conveyors and all this sort of stuff. And this is a chaff sorter, you know, to thresh part of the threshing of the grain. And, you know, it was amazing. It was really good. And there used to be thousands of these mills, and there's very few of them left, and definitely hardly any of them are still working. And the amazing thing, the reason there's no audio is because the mill was going when we were in there, and it's making a lot of noise. Like it's, you know, the wooden teeth on the gears and everything are really clacking away. So the audio was not usable. But I found it very interesting. The hammer mill doesn't go anymore, only because, you know, they don't have a lot of felt to make. They could get it going, but they just don't. But the surrounding ponds were just lovely as well. And they had all these signs up, no fishing, and there's quite a few people fishing. So, you know, there you go. There's all these signs, but the man did take us through and explained everything to us.
Okay, so we rode from where we stayed last night to Sturminster Newton, which used to be a big railway station and a marshalling yard. So we're in a car park that used to be the marshalling yard. And we went to the Model Train Society, and they had a mock-up of the railway station, and there's one of the buildings, one of the store buildings still standing over there being used as a carpet showroom. But you can tell it used to be an old railway building. So that was interesting. So now they've turned the old railway line into a trailway. So we're going to ride down that. Now it says it's only 3.4 miles long, and we're not going to the end today. But we're assuming it's longer. So this has been done several times. So we think the sign hasn't been updated, and it's actually longer than that. So, but today we're going to do about half of it, and then we're going to go off and go to our accommodation for the night. And we're also going to stop at an English heritage building, and we'll look at a medieval manor. So we're looking forward to that as well. And we just come from the mill, so there was a mill down on the river that was still operating, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. You know, you could see the hoppers up in the attic, and you know, you could see the mill, and you could see the turbine, and it was very, very good, and run by volunteers, and just a lovely idyllic place on the river. So, and this town is nice as well. We thought it was going to be a bit of a lackluster stopover, and the food certainly was, but the town itself is very interesting.
The rail trail was really good, and it definitely does go longer than the 3.4 miles. It probably goes for like 25 miles in total, maybe a bit further. And the infrastructure is quite good. So this is me turning off to go to the manor. When we were going there, we thought there'd be people there, you know, like, and they'd let you in and they would explain everything to you. But no, you just turn up, it's all opened. Half of it's missing, so that part, only half of it's still there. And the reason this bit survived was it was actually turned into a mill. So, and then there's another half on the other end, which is still a house and people live in it.
That's Charlie.
So, you know,
Wow.
1/3 is missing and been demolished. 1/3 is still a house, and then this 1/3 is open and you can just wander around inside. That's the original ceiling, the original beams, and, you know, the original stonework.
Coming through here.
You see all the dowels, the wooden dowels?
Yeah. So Charlie, tell us, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's amazing that not only is it free to get into, there's actually nobody here, so that you're just trusted not to do the wrong thing. And we're just wandering around, and it's amazing. This is in the Doomsday Book, this place. So the mill we went to just previous to this was also in the Doomsday Book. So it's almost 1,000 years old.
I really like the woodwork and the sense of place here. This is a really solid building, and it used to be larger. So what's left is only part of what the manor used to be, but you can really get a sense of how they were made and the sort of space inside. And there's lots of beautiful fireplaces and things. It's great.
And as it's a mill, there's a beautiful little stream just outside where you can go swimming and fishing. You can see the stone roof there, you know, with the slate roof. We think of slate as like these little tiny things, but let me tell you, the big slate roofs, they're about 1 metre across. Now, the night's accommodation was a lot further off the trail than we rode on the trail. So the Kraken had booked us into this beautiful pub that was 600 years old and run by South Africans, and we're in this beautiful room in a Tudor pub. It was really lovely, but it was quite far from the actual trail itself. And as you can see, the bathroom was quite grand, and the room had this elegance about it that, you know, a lot of the budget accommodation that we stay in doesn't look like this. But this was lovely. And very spacious.
Good morning. Poor Charlie woke up with a flat tyre, so we're kind of ruining the vibe out the front here in this beautiful place, fixing the tyres. And here's my beast this morning. I have way too much on the top, but I'm ready to go.
We had to ride back to the trail again, so we just reversed what we did the day before.
We're continuing on the trailway. Here's the entry point here, and just a fun fact, there's a car park next to it. I guess that's for pedestrians. So here we go.
They had a railway museum stuck in the middle, and you know, they had these hand carts that you could go up and down like 200 metres of train track.
There's so many kids.
Yeah, it's used, this rail path. It was really lovely and bucolic, all the views around it, and really just we were very spoilt. You know, peaceful, lovely, car free, everything that you could want on a idyllic ride. And all this dead flat as well, by the way. So we went through some villages, like where this village church is. It's just beautiful. England really manages their green spaces well and their heritage well. We stop at all the shopping centres.
There's Charlie's bike. He's on a folding Darhon Smooth Hound.
Look at the mighty steeds.
There's this setup, you can see the tent gear and everything. And there's mine. I'm also on a folding bike. It's a Helix. That's my setup.
This is still the rail trail, and you can see the infrastructure that they put in and the expense they've gone to make an asset for the community.
And then there's that Charlie.
So we finished the Dorset cycleway and
Trailway.
cycle trail, and there's, you know, it was an old railway line, and it would take a morning to ride easily, you know, like from start to finish. The surface is dirt, hard packed dirt, and there's not many road crossings, so it's good. And some of the old railway stations are still there, and it goes through enough places that you can get cafe, cups of tea and stuff like that.
Woohoo!
So it was all very nice. It's all car free, and it was all very nice. And this is right near the end, and this is lovely too. Okay, go.
My opinion on the North Dorset Trailway is that you should give it a go. Tyre widths, it's actually really quite a reasonable surface for most of it. We did it on folding bikes. I don't know if you could get away with it on a like full carbon fiber narrow tired bike. However, it's actually pretty good condition most of the way through. And we've done quite a longer section than it shows on the sign. So I'll put a link in the description to more information about this cool little trip.
We have 1 1/4 inch tyres.
Yeah, we have 1 1/4, and it's no problem at all. It was really good. And the tree canopy going through is lovely. So even if it's quite a hot day, you've got lots of shade.